Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, welcome to my channel. My name is Mike and today I have a 10 palette review for you. So if you don't know anything about this channel, then you may not know yet, but I like grouping 10 eyeshadow palettes that I've tried and do like very swift mini reviews, including swatches and some pictures of makeup looks that I did with all of those palettes, so that you have a nice little roundup. I know that a lot of people like doing these kind of videos in like a ranking system, and the reason why I don't do that is because I then feel I will choose a favorite palette based on the selection of 10 that I have going on, and that means that if I run into a streak where I don't love all of the palettes, that I can very easily label something as being my favorite without it truly being my favorite. And I also think that if I have lots of good palettes, I could rate a palette as being not so great or not my favorite at all, despite it perhaps not being all that bad at all. So I just think that ranking in groups of 10 as I try them isn't that valuable. I like doing ranking videos more so in like a grouping of like, these are all of these palettes and now I'm going to rank them for you. So they need to sort of go together in my brain for it to be a ranking. I don't really see merit in going like, these are the last 10 palettes I tried, this is how they rank. For me, it doesn't really make sense. It's not how I use makeup. So that's why I'm not going through these in any particular order. I kind of go through them chronologically, I guess, because there is one palette that is lying in front of me right now, which is on my eyes today. So I thought we could discuss that as well. But let's go way, way back in time when I was still trying these out. There's usually like a 2 to 3 month period between these kind of videos, and I definitely have, as per usual, because that's another thing that I tend to do, there are more than 10 palettes here because some of them I feel go together or I got them together, so there are more than 10 palettes in today's video. But way back when, right after I did my last 10 palette review, the first palette I tried is the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde, and this was last year's holiday collection, and I was super late to the party because when I first spotted this online, I was like, it's a neutral palette with 4 pops of color. Do I need that? I don't think I need that. And then I kept seeing people using this in videos, and I kept seeing it popping up in their eyeshadow palette collections, and I was like, that middle row is like very sort of like nice mauvey, dusty, rosy shades, and these are like deeper rosy, mauvey kind of shades, and you have 2 very interesting shimmers here. It's not too warm tone leaning. I was like, it's actually quite fair, and I was like, so why don't I like this? So I think that for me, this release just came at the wrong moment. So for me, this is not a Christmas holiday kind of palette. For me, a palette like this is a spring summer palette, like with these like aqua shades and those purples, and then these kind of like very sort of like blushing bouquet kind of shades. It's very much spring summer for me, so I decided to buy it. I think I had a coupon code and I decided to get this, and I really, really enjoyed it. I did 3 looks with this, I believe, and I definitely sort of, for me, the palette breaks into 3 sextets. Is that how you say it, a sextet? If it's 6 shades. Anyways, this one, and this one, and then this one, because I feel that that way you get a little bit of everything in every single look. So you have something a bit more plummy, with a little bit more warmth, and then this is a little bit more cool toned with that really nice, very like bright, what's it called? Oh, it's called Ultraviolet. I was gonna say an ultraviolet shade. It's an ultraviolet. And then this is very sort of like brown tone neutrals with a pop of green. So I'm not sure if the eyeshadow palette is intended to be laid out like that, but that's how it works in my brain. So those are the 3 looks that I did, and I really enjoyed the looks that came out. I do think this is more of a palette that is recommended for fair, cool tone leaning people for sure. This is a nice one. I actually want to do a palette video this month where I talk about the best palettes for people with pale skins like me. So going from one ultraviolet palette, let's just talk about another ultraviolet palette. I bought this over the summer when it launched, the Naked Ultraviolet, and I have to say that I like this a lot more than a lot of people were talking about when this first released. I definitely like, because it's still, you know, it's still supposed to be a naked palette. So I think this is the kind of palette that does purple in a way that makes it very wearable for everyday life. And I think that that's another thing that, of course, on YouTube and Instagram, we see people doing these really lovely, like super intensely pigmented looks. And if you do very editorial looks and all you do is Instagram, then I'm sure that that's what you want boom pigment. But I don't know about you, but I teach in fluorescent lighting. That's not very flattering, people. So these kind of shades work a lot better if you're just someone leading a regular day life. Like today, it's very gloomy out. I'm going to be going to the store after I film this, and you know, you just don't want to be bothered with super pigmented eyeshadow that like smudges everywhere, whatever, because that's actually an issue that I have with very pigmented eyeshadow sometimes, is that it smudges everywhere on, like, as your makeup starts to break down, it can get very smudgy. This stays put all day. The blendability is great. I thought that the sort of reservation I had when I bought this is that this was going to be too neutral, but I have found that both Dazed and also VR are both duochrome kind of shades. So actually, there's only like 3 mattes in this palette in good Urban Decay fashion. You know I love a shimmer over a matte. I, for instance, put Purple Dust in the crease. Works like a dream. It works really well. Would I have wanted that to be a matte purple? For sure, but it works. You can make it work. It's just something you just have to play with, because this is not a super intense metallic-y shimmer at all. It's more like a satin, which Urban Decay does very well. And then what I found is that this VR shade is a great like transformer shade, just like Lucid. And then, which is also a great inner corner highlight. And then you just have these 2 mattes to build up a look. And this peachy sort of like shift, like with a gold shift, goes really well with the purples, I find. So I definitely did like an all purple look, an all neutral look, and then a purple and neutral look when I was doing these looks. Works really well. I like the quality of this. Is this my favorite naked palette? No, but I do think that it's a clever way of making color a bit more wearable. I think I get a similar vibe from this like I do from the Mercury Retrograde from Huda. It is sort of that very wearable, everyday kind of, but still with a pop of color kind of palette. I definitely try to, oh wow, if I look at what I have lying in front of me, like a lot of this is very neutral and very rosy toned. So let's talk about some rosy toned stuff, because I bought myself some Colourpop stuff over the summertime, so it was time to try it. And I bought myself a couple of more recent releases that I hadn't gotten around to trying yet. So I was very much swayed by the Going Coconuts because it was promoted as a more cool toned leaning palette. And now of course they have the taupe, which is far more cool toned than this. To me, this is more smack in the middle of cool and warm. So this is, if you're looking for a very good like smack in the middle neutral palette, then this is nice. It is a little bit light though, I think, because this shade doesn't go very deep at all. But I do really like these like 3 shimmers in the middle, and you do get a couple of really nice like transition-y blendy shades. This is really stunning. I think I did 1 look with this, worked really well. I generally like the Colourpop formula, and I do think that the Going Coconuts is just a nice one to have. I would like to see how it compares to the taupe collection one. That's taupe, I think. And I think what I actually want to do with the next 2 palettes I will be mentioning is that perhaps what I want to do with these Colourpop monochromatic palettes in the end, I think I will be doing that sometime next year, is to sort of curate them even further and sort of take shades out from one that I really love and then combine it with shades from another one that I really love, and that I sort of put 2 palettes into one, because I really feel that, for instance, like this is a bit too warm toned for me. This is like this like weird shimmery kind of shade, which I'm not about. This is a bit warm toned for me. So for me, I would, and this like beigey shade I don't really use. So I would probably just keep this, and then these 3, and then perhaps put the 4 shades from the That's Taupe in here. Or maybe I love all of those shades and I don't want to mess with it, but still, this is a really nice palette. So I do like it on its own accord, but I definitely think I want to be mixing and matching these in the long run. And I got that idea because of these 2 palettes. This is the Making Mauves and the Flutter by. Of these 2, the Flutter by is my favorite. And the reason for that is that it's more cool toned, but it does have a pressed glitter. So I'm like, that pressed glitter's gotta go, because I don't really like the pressed glitter formula from Colourpop. And also here, I feel that it has a couple of shades that are just a little samey. Like, I like the depth that it has going on. This shimmer is really, really pretty here in the top right corner. Again, a beigey shade that I wouldn't really use. So, and these are of course magnetized, so you can easily pop them out. I definitely don't need both of these transition shades, for instance. I really like these 2 shimmers too. So I definitely want to play around with this and see if I can take some shades from the Making Mauves, because this I felt, yes, it's pretty, but it's not giving me exactly what I want. In terms of mauves, this is a bit more cool toned leaning, this is a bit more warm toned, and I just thought that the way this shade performed, it looks a lot darker on camera than it does in real life, I find, and I just feel this palette doesn't have the depth that, for instance, the Flutter by does offer you. So I feel that that dark brown shade that the Flutter by has is what this palette is missing, pretty much. But I really love these three shimmers. This is a super shock formula, and I want to put this one instead of the pressed glitter in here, for sure, for sure. And then just keep the Flutter by. And I think also, for instance, this shade, what's it called? It's called Big Fig. I think that would go really nicely in here as well. So I definitely want to sort of change out a couple of the shades, definitely keep these three shimmers and then maybe one or two of the mattes and put it in here and substitute it that way. But these palettes, like the Going Coconuts, work really well of their own accord. I prefer the Flutter by because it is a bit more cool leaning and it's much more versatile than the Making Mauves. This is a little bit more, how should I say it? It's a bit more monochromatic, which of course is the idea of the palette. I do really like this packaging, so again, I might want to just reuse the packaging at some point if I have like other Colourpop shadows that I could put in here, because in the different palettes, the sizes are the same, so you can easily sort of mix and match. But yeah, this is a nice palette, but the shimmers is where it's at for me. Shall we stick to affordable for a minute? Because I feel like I've got quite a few high-end things. Ta-da! Catrice came out with new stuff. Yay! I'm so happy about these. This was the one I tried live for you on camera in that Get Ready With Me that I did as part of my first impression trial video. And doesn't just dupe Natasha Denona mini palettes. Like, that's what these look like, right? I've only tried this one because it looked the most interesting, but there are 4 of these. One is a bit more warm toned, one is a bit more rosy, one is a bit more neutral, but this has, it's called, I believe, the modern, this is called the Modern Smokey look, and it has 3 mattes and then 2 shimmers, and this really nice like champagne-y shade and this like bluish gray. And this, well, it looks very gray on camera, but it's actually got a hint of blue running through it, making for such a perfect, such a lovely, cool tone smoky eye. I'm so happy that Catrice did these. I actually now want to try the other 3. And I don't normally feel that way about Catrice stuff. I'm like, I've tried this one thing, I'm good. But I'm super stoked about this one. And I'm also very stoked about this palette. So the Vintage Soul has my heart, for sure, for sure, for sure. This palette, you guys. Melt Cosmetics is coming out with a gray toned and like burgundy crimson palette, and I don't think I need it because I have this. But I don't want to go as far as saying that I really don't need it. But from the new Beetlejuice collection, that's the one that sparks my attention most. So yeah, I'm not sure whether I'm really going to be passing up on the Melt palette because I already own this, but this definitely has that sort of reddish tone, but also some gray tones. This is such an interesting palette. It's a very cool toned leaning, more unique color story. There's really only like 1 or 2 shades that are a little bit more warm toned, which is these 2, but everything else is very sort of like plummy, rosy, gray toned. Every look I did with this, I absolutely adored. Catrice does such a good job with this, and it's such a shame that you can't buy it everywhere yet. I'm very well aware. I think when I did my comparison, like comparing eyeshadow palette video, I also talked about this, comparing it to the Vintage Soul by Catrice. This is the Lorac Pro 4, and this is, if soft glam is too dark for you, if it's too sultry, then this is the more neutral version of that. It's a bit more plummy, it's not as reddish toned, but this is more muted. It's sort of very much that very soft, very pretty everyday look that Lorac is just known for. It has the Lorac formula that I love and adore, and I bought this because I love my Lorac Pro 3 so much. I do have to say that this shade Begonia is a little bit more pink toned than I would like. I think I would have liked it a little bit more dusty. But yeah, Merlot is stunning. I love Silver Mauve here, that lighter shade. And some of these, like these, yeah, these 4. So we have Pecan, Rosebud, Warm Ginger, and Cognac. And especially Cognac, you can see, like I've used that matte so much. is this too dark for me? No, this plum I can get away with. Amaretto is perhaps a little bit more warm toned than I would like. And it's also like, if you put your fingers over that shade, can I do this from here? So if you put your fingers over that, then you can see that it's really not that warm toned at all. This is like the only very warm toned shade in the entire palette. I do feel that Brulee I could have probably done without. And I remember someone actually once put all of their Lorac palettes, they had all the Pro palettes, including the Mega Pros, and they put everything into a giant Z palette, and then you just see that Lorac puts one of those beigey shades in like every single palette they do. Again, I could have done without that, but this is so pretty, and I really do like that burgundy packaging, like plummy burgundy shade. Really, really stunning. And then let's talk about this big guy. I already mentioned this in my Shop My Stash as well, but this is the Celestial Storm palette by Dominique Cosmetics. I bought this on sale for Christmas already in like January, like in the Christmas sales, but I only got around to using it right now because I saw this color story and I was like, that's fall, I'm gonna keep it. I'm not gonna touch it yet, but for fall, I'm gonna put my hands on it. And for me, this breaks into 3 quads. So you have a warm tone quad, you've got a more cool tone quad with a pop of purple pink, and then you have this very bright quad with 2 mattes and like 2 shimmers and like this turquoisey teal and like a magenta kind of shade. And I felt that each one of these quads that I did a look with went down in quality as I went along. So this part of the palette, fantastic. Really great mattes, really great shimmers. It really came together. I love the look that I did, even though I'm not a warm tone lover at all. This quad was okay. It was workable. I could work with it. I just didn't really feel it truly came together. And when I started using these, again, it worked. A lot of people complimented me actually when I was doing this look, but I felt very insecure about it because I felt that in real life, it just didn't look as good because these 2 mattes are a little bit patchy and these 2 shimmers, just the sheer effort it took to get them onto my eye. Oh boy, these are not great shimmers to work with. I really had to dig my brush in. Is it a really cool, unique color story? For sure, but I do feel that this very warm toned, like orangey brown, isn't deep enough to really give enough dimension to this look. So I would have wished this to be a deeper, like chocolatey brown shade to give it a bit more dimension, and that could also create some more depths in these other looks. I feel it's a very mid-tone palette. And as I mentioned, the neutrals in this palette, lovely. The more colorful shades just didn't have the same quality to them. There's a very big difference in quality within the palette. And then this is also a palette that I used in a video that I filmed, so you can see me wearing the look I did with the I Heart Revolution Black Pearl Mini Chocolate Bar palette. And I spotted this when it was launched on their website, actually when I was placing my order. No, I had just placed my order for completing my full face of Makeup Revolution at the time. And I was like, oh, I think I placed the order and then a day later I got the email that this had come out. And so this was launched in the springtime. I haven't heard anybody talking about it, but isn't that just a yummy cool tone color story? Which is why I wanted to own it. I found it on sale at Boozy Shop for like €5 and I was gonna get something else anyway, so this is the thing that got me free shipping, so I was like, yay. So yeah, it's got a really nice silver and this really nice dark charcoal gray shade. Those are shimmers. Then this brown is a bit more of like a satin, and then it has this like not super metallic but still like a shimmer, and it's this really interesting like bluey lavendery kind of periwinkle shade. It's like a very, very pale periwinkle that just adds a little pop of something not so muted and ashy, adds some brightness to it, which I love. And then you just get 4 mattes that really round off the look. This black looks a bit gray in the pan, but I found going on, it looked very saturated and black enough for me. So I used that as a bit of liner. I only did one look with these, but I love these little Makeup Revolution palettes because I love traveling with these. So this way I have a cool tone look, and I've got a rosy look, and I've got my green look, and I really like the Turkish Delight one that I bought in this line as well. So I wish Makeup Revolution came out with more of these mini palettes because I really like them. And then last but not least, we're moving on to Miss Pat McGrath. I definitely got a little bougie. I bought one of the Blitz Astral Quads at Sephora last year when I was in New York. that seems like a lifetime ago right now, but the Blitz Astral Quad in Nocturnal Nirvana with the blue and the purple and the green duochrome loveliness. However, for Christmas last year, she was also launching Ritualistic Rose, and that's one that I was actually lusting after because this is a bit more up my street, but it wasn't available, and it was so expensive that I was like, I'm not going to buy this anytime soon. And that Nocturnal Nirvana quad, I wasn't entirely sure of because it did crease on me quite a bit, and I had to work very hard to make the shadows work, or so I thought. I just had never played with other Pat McGrath shadows before, and as you will see, I have done that now. So I now know a little bit better what I need to do in order to make these shadows work. These are shadows you need to get used to because the formula is just so different. It's unlike anything you've ever tried. Everybody keeps saying that. I wasn't believing it, but it's true. I find that with brushes, especially some of these like special shimmery shades, don't go on very well. You may want to use a finger, and this is the quad I have on my eyes today. I put a bit of my bronzer, a matte bronzer in the crease that I had in my Shop My Stash anyways, and then I put this bronzy shade in the crease and the outer V. I put this shade all over the lid, this really stunning like rosy shade, but it's got like Pat McGrath is, to me now, I realize, the eyeshadow version of what I feel Lisa Eldridge does in her lipsticks, which is just undertones. The undertones of these shades, just forget the sparkle, it's just the undertones in these shadows are lovely. She does insist on putting yellow tone golds in everything, so I just put it in the inner corner of my lower lash line. This I put in the inner corner, and then I just dabbed it on the middle of the lid as well, but this all over the lid, I definitely need to try that because it seems to have a bit of green running through it. Camera will not pick up on it, but yeah. So 4 of those like special shades, and Pat McGrath was having a bit of a sale over the summer, and that's when I ordered this one. And the reason why I decided to get it, let's just get to the mother load first, because in the springtime I was eyeing up more Pat McGrath stuff, and then she released the Divine Rose 2, and I was like, that, because I was lusting after the La Vie en Rose and that Ritualistic Rose shade, like, oh, that will be a nice like 10-pan palette. I've got some more Pat McGrath stuff, and this is what the Divine Rose 2 looks like. But then I saw this on their website. I was like, I need to get that straight away. So I bought this on like the day it released. The pink packaging had already sold out, but I did get the black one. It's got this really nice hot pink. And again, not too many mattes, which I'm very happy with. This gorgeous plummy shade, this peachy shade. And it was when I tried this that I was like, oh, now I truly understand what everybody's going on about with Pat McGrath. Like, it's not just about the special shades, but it's really how all of these shades play together when she put it on the eye, how it just really, really works. This shade here is stunning. And this bronzy shade, even though I'm not a big fan of bronzes, this has Sexo-Terrestrial, which is like a pink to green shift, very special. But then it also has this like deeper mauve tone and this like almost, again, this is also almost like a duochrome shift kind of thing. So it just has really special shades. I love the looks that I did with it. I do have to say though that they are incredibly difficult to capture on camera, what it does on your eyes. So I felt this looked a lot better in real life than what it, like in real life it had this wow factor. These are the kind of shadows that you put them on and you've got a look, you know, like my Cliona multi-chromes. It's that kind of thing. Doesn't show up on camera, but it's so, so pretty in real life. And these are still very subtle. It's not too in your face, which with the multi-chromes, I sometimes feel the effect is so strong in real life that people can go like, what are you wearing? Whereas with this, I feel that never happens. So because I like this so much, and then there was that sale, so I got that Ritualistic Rose thing. I got another one of these big palettes, which is the Subliminal, which is the cool toned one. But that one I haven't tried yet, so that's why it's not featured here. And then she had also just released a new 6-pan. And I was not interested in the Rose Decadence at all when I first saw this. And then I saw Mel Thompson do swatches of this. And I was like, Pat, just take my money. Again, when I say undertones, this is very important for this palette as well, because again, it only has 2 mattes and everything else is shimmer, but the way everything plays together is just so, so lovely. And then what I like about Pat McGrath is that I can put the Ritualistic Rose with this and it will work. I can put my Divine Rose 2 with this and it will complement some of the shades that are in here, because this is, for instance, a bit more of a deeper peach than the peach in the Divine Rose 2. This plum shade is again different. So I feel that this way, if you have a couple of these Pat McGrath palettes that sort of fall in this like rose line that she seems to be doing, it just works really well. And what I loved about this palette, I'm not a warm tone lover at all, but this shade, I'm not sure what it's called. What is it called? It's called Peach Dusk. When I blended it out on my very fair skin, it was as if there were 3 colors in the shade, but it didn't look muddy. I don't know what happened to it. And it's a matte. It's a matte. I was like, it just transformed, and it was like the more I blended, the more diffused it became, and it was just, it was wonderful. Like, these are not my kind of shades, you guys, but if this woman can make me love warm tones, you know she's doing a good job. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this like 10-ish palette review video. I tend to do this whenever I have 10 palettes, and the next round is going to take a bit longer. I'm filming this exact video at midday and it's so gloomy that it's almost impossible to film. So the weather has been like just a blanket of rain. That's what we've been having. So I'm very curious to see what the light will do in the next couple of months, because we haven't even hit December yet. Yay. But yeah, it's going to be more difficult for me to take pictures and to film and do all of that. So I hope to be able to do this again in like 4 or 5 months or so. Then I should have tried enough to do another one of these videos. So I hope you would like to stay tuned, because I talk about lots of eyeshadow palettes on here. I do like 2 or 3 videos a month just about eyeshadow palettes. So I hope you would like to stay tuned for that. And then if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I really hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye.